Hello everyone, welcome back to Sukiya's Art channel. I want to apologize before I start this video because this is part 2 of the previous video I was working on. I made a video yesterday where I started, I'm reviewing the set, the Pelikan opaque paint box. As you can see here, this is what it looks like. This is the little cardboard bit that was on the outside with all the information. And in my previous video, I said that I was going to do part 2 in the evening. Yesterday, it was when I was supposed to do it. However, what happened was, unfortunately, one of my zebra finches got sick, which was very frustrating and upsetting. And I spent like a great part of the night nursing her back to health. So she's pregnant at the moment and laying eggs. So I'm really worried. But yeah, I'm not going to go on too long about that. She seems to be much better now. I may take her to the vet tomorrow. The point is, I couldn't really do the video yesterday because this unexpected, unforeseen circumstance took place. So I'm so sorry, guys. I was supposed to do part 2 yesterday and I didn't, so I'm doing it now. I know it's a bit of a stupid time, Sunday evening. I say evening, it's actually night. It's 11:18 in England, in London. However, if you do live in another country, you're probably okay. Like if you're in America, it's probably like, depending on where you are, 5 in the afternoon or something. So that's okay. Anyway, so for those of you who are just coming in and who didn't watch my first video, oh, thank you very much, David. Me either. I mean, I'm so excited to see how it's going to turn out because, yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. My previous video. So basically, as I said, I'm reviewing this Pelikan watercolor set. And this is a little color chart that I did. And I decided to draw Maggie as an alien. I've already drawn the hair too big, as you can see from the reference picture. Ooh, what's going on? Here we go. So yeah, it's not completely the same, but it's similar, which is great. I'm gonna try and make the hair a little bit smaller. We'll see what happens. Okay, I'm just setting up my iPad. Here we go. Yeah, so it's basically, originally, as I said in my previous video, I found a picture. I was going to draw an alien from The Simpsons, but then in my Google search, I found this picture of Maggie Simpson as an alien, and I thought it was so cute, so I decided to draw that instead. One of the things I'm just going to do really quickly is when I did my video yesterday, I kind of just run out of time a little bit, so I couldn't do the 3. Usually when I do a color chart, what I do is I mix the 3 primary colors together to see what kind of secondary colors I get. On this occasion, I'm really tired, so my English will begin to fail me. Just be aware of that. So on this occasion, I only did the purple, and I used the carmine-ish red, and I mixed it with this kind of, I don't know, kind of blue that would be, I can't think now, but this blue anyway. I mixed the 2 of them together, and I thought I got a really nice reddish purple out of it. So now I'm going to try and get the other secondary colors before I continue with the drawing, just to see what kind of results I get. So far, I've been pretty impressed with these watercolors, to be fair. They are a cheap children's set, I believe. I think it does say on the back that they are for children or for home, to be used in the home. But so far, yeah, I've had a good experience with them. Oh, I'm mixing with blue again. What am I doing? No, I'm trying. I should get a yellow. See, I'm really tired, so I'm not thinking. Just gonna leave that mixture there. Just give it. You see how easy it is to create a purple. Very nice. Let me just get some of that yellow. I used that yellow last time. Actually, I didn't, because I didn't mix the colors. Never mind. I didn't mix these colors. I haven't used the yellow yet to mix. I've only used the, well, I have actually. I mixed this yellow with this orange, which is probably what I'm thinking of in order to get her skin color. But when it came to mixing to get secondary colors, I haven't used the yellow yet. Again, just bear with me, guys. I am a little bit tired. Also, I've been quite stressed because of what's happening with my finches. So, yeah, I think I'm a little bit more tired than usual because I've been really stressed, worrying. I stayed up until 4 in the morning last night because my finch she was really sick. She's much better today, thank God. But yesterday she was really sick. She was at the bottom of her cage. She was really puffed up. She could barely fly. I was really worried. She's much better today, but we'll see how she fares tomorrow because she is pregnant, or she's supposed to be. She's laid 3 eggs so far. So when they're laying eggs, you worry about all sorts of things. So anyway. Okay, so I was able to produce a very nice orange. I'm going to add some more red and yellow to that because the thing about these cheap watercolors is that you have to add a substantial amount of color, otherwise the particles, as I said in my previous video, they part from the water. So like, I mean, watercolors do this where the water tends to settle in one place on the page, but usually with stronger watercolors, better quality watercolors, the color vibrancy remains. But with these ones, they just leave this kind of like hole where one side appears to be stronger than the other, and like here in the middle, it just looked like that, almost like the color had dissipated and there was nothing much there, like that. I'm trying to cover that up now. One thing I wanted to touch on that I completely forgot to talk about in my previous video was the fact that at the back it mentions that these colors are light fast. Where is it? Here we go. Vivid colors, good covering power, light fast. Where's the English? There we go. Light fast. Okay, well, they might be. Unless I did an experiment myself, I wouldn't be able to tell you, guys. But usually, cheap watercolor sets or any cheap art supplies don't tend to be light fast. But it depends on what kind of pigment they use for the colors. Oh, there's a hair coming off. Can I? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would assume with a cheap watercolor set like this one that they're not light fast, but so I'm not even going to bother trying to do a chart to test this because, yeah. But I mean, they might be. Sometimes companies put that information on their art supplies and they don't really understand what that means. It's really weird. For those of you who aren't aware, light fast just means that a color is resistant to light, but it also means it's resistant to other weather factors like humidity, dust, etc. That's why in museums, not with all the paintings perhaps, but with a lot of paintings, because paintings get restored. So if they lose their color and they start turning sepia, museums have restorers on hand to kind of bring the original hues back to the painting. But with a lot of paintings, you'll notice they are behind glass. It's called museum glass. And museum glass is there to prevent colors from fading and extend the light fastness of the color. But also it's to prevent the colors from getting weathered down by dust, humidity, as I said, heat. Could be all kinds of conditions that will affect the vibrancy of your colors more often than not. Once the color is past its light fast expiry date, if you will, it will start turning shades of sepia or black and white. Sorry guys, I'm just drinking some water. It's okay. I've mixed that orange. The quality of the pigment or hue is not that great. When I mixed the purple, I put down red, then blue, then red, then blue again, I think. And it felt really chalky. I think I was using less water than I used on this one, but it created a more uniform color. With this one, I added more water, so the quality doesn't look as good. Yeah, but you can still see that I got a nice orange from mixing that red and this blue. What am I saying? That red and this yellow. That's what I meant to say. So now I'm going to try and create the green, see what happens using the yellow and the blue. Yeah, I got it right this time around. Oh, never mind. So I'm just going to put it here. I think I'm using too much water again. It's because they're quite chalky, really. That's a nice yellow, though. It's quite vibrant. I do like that. Am I using the right yellow? Sorry, guys. All this time I thought I was using this yellow, but actually I've been using this yellow. It's more lemony yellow, which this is more of a standard yellow. So that's why it's so vibrant. That's a really pretty color. I really like that. So now I'm going to dip into the blue. But I am using the same blue, so we'll see what happens. That one is a little bit cooler. That looks a little bit warmer. You're not supposed, when you're mixing for secondaries, you're not supposed to mix cool colors with warm colors, because usually you get muddy colors when you do that. You're supposed to mix warm colors with warm colors and cool colors with cool colors. May have made that mistake here as well, because this is quite a warm red, but that is a cool yellow. That would explain why the purple is quite warm, but this one is not so great. So it's a nice orange. And this is a fairly nice green, a kind of more bluish green. But it's a nice green. I managed, the point is the colors mix really, really well. So it's really easy to get secondary colors. There's a bit of a mess, but at least I'm getting it done. Okay. With watercolor, it's good to dilute the color and see what kind of washes you get. So that's a nice green. Okay, so as you can see, you can get some really nice secondary colors from the mixing of the colors, and they're not muddy, which is good, because that's one of the worst things that you can get with a cheap art medium is when the colors become muddy when you mix them. So it's good that that's not happening here. That's a good sign, even if the pigment looks a little bit cheap, which makes sense. Again, the particles are separating from the water, but we'll live with that. As I said in my previous video, that happened with the SAC koi set as well. So, okay, let's carry on with the actual drawing. The other thing I wanted to mention, I found out after watching my last video, is that originally when I was doing the color chart, I said I was going to go like this, and then like this, and then like this. But actually what I ended up doing was starting here, going up, coming down like this, and then starting again from the blue and coming down like this. I don't know why I did that. Obviously, I got all confused and wasn't paying attention. It's not a big deal because I know which colors, as long as when you're doing a color chart where your colors don't have names, as long as you know how they match, then that's fine. That's what matters, because I often refer to my color chart when I want to mix colors. I did that for the blue and I did that for the yellow. And when I was first painting with the blue, I didn't think I had the right blue. But actually, now that it's dried, I think it is correct. So, all right, let's carry on. I am going to have to mix a green now for the tentacles. I'll do the tentacles next. And actually, this green is quite similar to the one on the picture. So I'm going to try lifting. Which brush do I use? These De La Rowney ones are really good. Actually, I've been using this Simply De La Rowney brushes. I think this is the first time I use them, and they feel really nice. I know they're like student quality, but they feel really nice, actually. Even though the big one that I was using, a hair came, oh, I say hair, I meant bristle, but I mean, they're supposed to be made of hairs, right? Whether natural or synthetic. One of the bristles came off, as you saw. I had to push it out of the orange. But it doesn't happen that often with these brushes. That was like an isolated incident. My birds stopped chirping. I think they've gone to sleep. It's quite late, especially because my lovely female has been sick. As I said, I was nursing her back to health yesterday. And she was better today. She was chirping. She was back to her slender frame in the morning and being very chirpy and active, jumping from the branch to the nest to the branch. So they have a nest inside their cage. And then at night she got puffy again. So I was a little bit panicked. But yeah, she seems like she's being active again. So I'm trying not to worry, trying not to panic because I was crying about my birds last night. No, such a girl, such a stereotype. I actually don't cry that often. It's really rare for me to cry. Don't know why I'm sharing this personal stuff with you. Maybe it's because it's so late and the curtains are drawn. It's almost like we're having like a one-to-one moment. If you want me to help you sort out your problems, please write in, leave a comment. Auntie Suki, I'm having this problem with my neighbor's dog. How do I solve this? I was considering throwing something at it, but I don't want to get in trouble. Well, dear reader, I don't know how to help you. Maybe talk to your neighbor, see if you can get the dog to shut up, that kind of thing. I know, can't believe that was the best example I could come up with. In my line of work, I do read people's complaints. I'm supposed to log them on our system. And I have to say, a lot of people complain about their neighbors' dogs. It's never happened to me before, though. I had such a noisy dog that it affected my whole lifestyle. I'm really sorry for you guys. I'm sorry that you're having problems with your neighbor's dog. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to mix some more of that green. Also, because I think people are, they're at home now because of stupid COVID-19 thing. I think, yeah, they're being more affected. Okay, so I use this yellow. And this blue. Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit darker, so I'm going to try adding a little bit more yellow. Okay, it's not so bad. really like these brushes. They're really precise. I find it really easy to paint with them. It's very, find it very easy to control them. This is really nice, actually. If you guys have any suggestions of anything you'd like me to draw, please leave a comment. If you like my content, is that how you say it? Please do subscribe and turn on that little bell on YouTube so you can get notifications so that every time I publish a new video, you'll be informed about it. And yeah, you can come on YouTube and watch it. Thank you so much for the likes, by the way. I've already got 2 likes. Thanks, guys. That's really, really nice of you. Very supportive. I really do appreciate all of your support. With watercolors, you're actually supposed to leave the white bits white. But when I was doing my drawing, I didn't account for that because I'm not so used to watercolors as much as other mediums. I'm used to actually plonking the white on top of a color when I want to highlight or, whatever. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing, even though you're not supposed to with watercolors. You are supposed to draw the picture in a way that you leave the bits that are supposed to remain white. If you're using white paper, like, I mean, I wouldn't say this is completely white, but if we were to be simplistic, that is white essentially. This is a bit like a big experiment for me. I used to draw a lot when I was a kid. I loved drawing. And then I studied art at GCSE level in school. Um, I think GCSE is the equivalent of the SATs in America. It's basically school level. I did art for 2 years. And my art teacher didn't like my art because he thought my art was too literal. So, for example, one time we were supposed, I think the theme was music, and we were supposed to interpret that through art. But I wasn't sure what that meant. So I drew a violin. And he did say to me the violin was really realistic looking and it was really good. But it was too literal. There was no interpretation of music through art. So he didn't really like it. Ooh, sorry about that. I just dropped my brush. Um, yeah, and I kind of started understanding things a little bit more as I grew older. But when I was a kid, I was really confused about what he meant about interpreting music through art. Because in my head, I was just thinking, they're two completely different things. But my friend, who was his favorite, she interpreted it in a very particular way, and she was amazing. Her art was amazing. Um, and he would turn around to me and go, "See, this is how you're supposed to do it." Oh, man, I've had that all my life. So, yeah, I used to take things quite literally. But as I grew older, I started understanding things like that a bit more, and understanding that, yeah, people don't always mean things literally. Maybe that's why I'm good at doing studies, because I'm good at observing and putting it down on paper, but I'm not always good at drawing from imagination. So that's my next step, you know, trying to draw from imagination. Sorry, guys, my iPad has logged me out, so I've had to log back in order to get my reference picture. Right. True that I actually painted in that tentacle too large, but eh, oh well. It could also be the paper that's creating this effect. I mean, this is very dry paper, but it is Fabriano. Fabriano is supposed to be really, really good paper. So, I mean, again, these are cheap watercolors. The quality is not going to be amazing, but I think they're good for beginners, definitely. I think after a while, professionals would get a little bit frustrated with them. I'm getting a little bit frustrated with them now, but maybe that's because I'm tired. That's another thing to take into account. Okay, I'm just gonna draw the eyes. I say draw. I mean paint. I'm just gonna paint the eyes because they're just supposed to be straight black. So I'm just gonna use the black and see what happens. But I don't think this black is dark enough. Oh, it's not so bad actually. So the medium that I'm the best at is definitely colored pencils. I find what I love about pencils is that they're really precise. Drawing details is really easy. You always have that sharp tip. If it's not sharp, you can sharpen it, get it as sharp as you like. But the thing about colored pencils is that they take really long to get things done because they only cover a small amount of area at a time because their tips are quite small. Whereas with a brush, you can like put it down and you can go like this and just cover a bigger area quicker. If that makes sense. So there are pros and cons to every medium, but I'm quite good with colored pencils. With watercolors, I do struggle. I'm trying getting the balance right. Ooh, I think I did better with that eye than with this one. Yeah, this one is definitely bigger. Hey, that's annoying. But I do love painting. I'm really getting a kick out of painting ever since I started. At first, I was obsessed with colored pencils, and I would buy all these different colored pencils. I have this huge collection, and I still love them. Don't get me wrong. But when I started painting, when I picked up a brush and I started painting, it was just such, I don't know, it's a different sensation. I really enjoy using paintbrushes. But I like all mediums, to be fair. I think they all have something to offer. They're all different. My least favorite for a long time was acrylic because it just dried too fast, which I didn't like. Because the difference between acrylic and gouache and watercolor is that they're all water-based paints, but with gouache and watercolor, if you make a mistake, you can lift it. You can lift the paint. Um, I'm gonna have to lift that, I guess. Illustrating my example. Yeah, you can lift the paint and start again and stuff. But with acrylic, once it's dry, you can't do anything about it, and it dries really quickly. But also, the thing about acrylic is that you can always paint over it. So that's another thing. If you make a mistake, you just paint over it. See how crappy I am with little areas like this, the eyes. Ooh, have to be so careful. It's possible this paintbrush is actually not small enough for the eyes. Ah, it's okay. I'll paint around it. I can. We'll see. Look at my bear. The nose and the eyes aren't just that. Hmm. This is what happens when you paint at 11:47 at night, and you've had a really tough weekend. Okay, so David asks, what type of paper are you using? I'm using this beautiful, beautiful sketchbook that I bought in one of my favorite art stores in London. The art store is called L. Cornelissen and Son. I'm probably not saying that right. I apologize, but I'm trying. That's going to become my catchphrase. I'm trying. That's going to become my catchphrase from now on. I bought this months ago. I think well before COVID-19, actually. And when I saw it in the shop, I just thought it's so beautiful. I just loved how old-fashioned it looked. I love that it's like really thick. This is a drawing I did, a video I'm working on. I'm currently editing it. It's going to be coming soon. But anyway, I love how thick it is. I love that it's got all this information, all these pictures. It says, ooh, let me just bring up my iPad so it doesn't drop. Every child who can learn to write can learn to draw. And then it says, approved by the Department of Science and Art, adopted by the Board of National Education in Ireland. Okay. Then it has the English sigil. Is that what it's called? And it says, Dieu est mon droit. Oh, something like that. I know Dieu means God, and I think means and. Mon might be mine, but I have no idea what droid is. If you're French, please let me know. And then it says, adopted by the Department of Public Instruction, New York, embracing every branch of pencil drawing by eminent artists. And then it has the name of this shop. You can buy this sketchbook in this shop. And then it says, drawing is now a necessary part of the education of all. And then it just has this beautiful little drawings, and it says freehand ornament, flowers, the human figure, marine, elementary drawing, landscape, animals, trees, objects. It says drawing quickens the perception of youth, drawing indispensable to the skilled workman, the basis of all applied art, an elegant and useful accomplishment. I agree. And then at the back, it says it's Fabriano Academia, so it's Fabriano paper. Fabriano is a great brand. Then it says drawing paper, and it says how many sheets and the size, acid-free, which is important. And then it has the address of the shop. It's 105 Great Russell Street, London. That's right, in central London. It's near the British Museum, which is in Holborn in London. And you go where the British Museum is, and you just keep walking down, and then you have to cross the street at some point, or the road at some point. But you just keep walking down, and eventually, if you're, you know, basically, if you're facing the British Museum and you turn left and you keep walking down, cross the road, keep walking down, eventually you'll see this shop on your right. Elkhorn, Nellison and Son. It's the road that bridges with Tottenham Court Road. No, sorry. It's the street. I think it's Good Street, actually. It bridges with Good Street, and then if you turn left, you'll end up in Tottenham Court Road. So it is in the center of London, near Holborn. It's a great art shop. I love that. I love that art shop. Really do. I applied for a job there once. Never received a reply. I still love them though. Oh, by the way, guys, hashtag not sponsored. because they are not sponsoring me to say any of this. I just really happen to like the shop. Right, let's continue. I am really happy knowing that my voice is so soothing that when I started talking, my birds just went to sleep. I know they've gone to sleep because they're really quiet. Whenever they're awake, they chirp a lot, they make all this noise, which is great because it means they're alive. So that's great. I love it when they're chirping and stuff. And they were chirping at the beginning of this video, but now they've stopped, which means they've gone to sleep, which potentially means they find my voice soothing. Or at least that's what I'm going to keep telling myself. I'm just going to get some tissue to wipe that. So yes, when you're lifting colors, something I always forget, you need some sort of tissue at hand to be able to lift the color. So yeah, it lifts really well. That's good. I'm gonna try and create more rounded oval. So that's a nice black. It's not a black. It is a really, 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 really dark gray. But I explained this in my previous video, so I'm not going to reiterate it. Okay, her eyes are huge. They're not supposed to be that huge. But I'm just going to leave it. And just give her some lashes. There we go. Okay, let's move on to something else. Let's do the dummy, because the dummy's a nice red. And there's some red on the toys as well, so I'm going to mix the carmine-ish red with the vermilion and try to, and also maybe a little bit of black, because the red on the picture is a little bit like blood red. It's a very, very pretty red. Though the one on the toys is a little bit more orange, so I am going to have to use a different red. That is such a beautiful color. I really love this red. Definitely looks like a carmine red to me. Now I'm going to add some of the vermilion. I'll just check. No, that's too orangey. Just a little bit more carmine. And then maybe a dash of black. Let's see. Yeah, maybe a little black. Ooh, it's a bit too much black. Oh, definitely. Oh, I think I had the right mixture earlier, and then I added too much black. That happens sometimes. You just have to keep mixing until you get the right color. It can be tricky. Okay, I think I'm going to add a little bit of white. I mean, this is quite opaque. Oh, that's still too dark. Let me just add maybe a little bit of yellow. Yellow can be good for mixing when you're trying to lighten the color rather than white, because a lot of times what happens, and I often forget this actually, is should I start again? Is that let me just see. That's not quite it. Maybe a little bit more vermilion. What happens is when you add white, instead of lightening the color, sometimes what it does is just turn it into a pastel version of that color. So you add yellow instead, because that, not too much yellow, but a little bit yellow, because that will lighten the color and keep the vibrancy rather than, um, dilute it into a pastel. If you're going for a pastel color, that's fine. But if you don't want a pastel color, you might want to consider using a little bit of yellow to lighten the color rather than white. Oy vey. Okay, maybe a little bit more carmine. It does feel quite opaque. I mean, this has dried quite matte, so it's possible that this is kind of a gouache type of paint rather than watercolor, and I was just diluting it using a lot of water, because this certainly looks more matte than the rest of this. And this, as I said, this was created using a lot of water. Um, but that looks pretty matte, the eyes and the dummy now, because I used less water. So it's possible this is more of a gouache than a watercolor. And I was just diluting the color a lot. It does say on here that it is an opaque paint box. Doesn't say it's gouache, but that's what we call, as I was saying in my previous video, that's what we call gouache opaque watercolors. So it's possible that this is some sort of gouache. First thing you learn at art school, stay within the lines. And I can't even do that. Or maybe art, not necessarily art school, like art lessons at school, because I never went to art school. I went to film school and then to drama school. Film school was awesome. Drama school was interesting. Yes, it's quite vibrant. Obviously, this picture is not going to be very accurate in terms of the edges of things and the shapes of things, but you know what? It's okay. I'm trying. That's what counts. Oh, thank you for the likes, guys. I've got a third like. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Now I'm going to paint the cube. I have to say, though I mixed quite a substantial amount of colors to get this red, um, it doesn't look muddy. And it doesn't feel that chalky either. So that's pretty cool, actually. That cube is so mangy. That is not a cube. That is like some sort of weird hybrid between a rectangle. What's the three-dimensional shape of the rectangle? Oh God, I forget now. But yeah, it looks like a hybrid between the three-dimensional shape or version of the rectangle and a cube. So nothing that exists. Oh, look at that. So, my OCD is going crazy right now because this cube doesn't look like a cube. So inside is pink. Okay. Hmm. Okay. I'm gonna add some more black to her eyes because it's kind of bugging me. This bit looks a bit more shiny than the rest. Hey guys, if you're enjoying my video, please do share on Facebook, on social media, help out. I'd be very grateful. I know. So egotistical. But honestly, if you don't mind, it'd be really nice if you could share it. If you think there's some merit in what I'm doing, maybe you want your friends to see it. You know, it's actually quite difficult painting and drawing life because you feel so judged. And I'm not saying you guys are judging me. I just mean that there's a lot of pressure. Okay, I'm gonna mix the pink now because it's like it's like a lavender-ish pink, the one on the picture. So maybe a mixture of that one and that one. Let me just swatch that one again. I remember when I swatched this one, it was quite light, not a lot of pigment there. Okay. All right. See, even for a cartoon, you will often end up mixing colors. Very rarely will you have an instance where the colors that you need or that you want is already pre-mixed for you, even on a big set. Mm, okay. Ooh, let me add some white to that. Oh my gosh, look at that white. So muddy. That is definitely getting closer to the color that I need. Okay, that might be it. Let me just check. I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter. Also, sometimes they dry lighter than they look when you first put them on the paper. And of course, when you add water to them. Okay. So yeah, I would say acrylic used to be my least favorite one because it dried really fast, and also because when I started using acrylic, I was using cheap acrylic, and I just found the paint in general to be a little too runny for me, and I didn't like it. But then I found Liquitex, like the professional brand, not Basics, because I find Basics to be too liquidy, too watery as well. And I really liked it because it felt it behaved a little bit more like oil, which was great. But it dries faster, so you don't have to wait around for days for it to dry. So I think I read somewhere that's why they created acrylic, so it could do the opposite things that oil does. If you don't have the patience to wait for something to dry, you can use acrylic instead of oil. I mean, if you have your own space, I think working with oil is great because the colors are really rich. They are so beautiful. There's something about using oil as a medium that just lends this vibrancy to colors that is just amazing. And if you think I'm exaggerating, let me tell you, one of the things that I find consistently is even with cheap oils, you will find the colors look really great because there's just something about the oil itself that just makes the colors vibrant. It's the same with wax. Wax-based pencils, the colors are going to be more vibrant than oil-based pencils because there's just some characteristics in wax or qualities in wax that determines the vibrancy of the colors, and that's why Prismacolor pencils are so vibrant and the colors are so beautiful because they're wax-based pencils. So Yeah, but oil, in my opinion, doesn't work as well in pencils as it does in paint. I think in paint, if you paint with oil, you're going to get the best colors you can get, other than with tempera. But tempera is a bit of a tricky medium. I'm still learning about it myself, and I haven't even been able to use it successfully, let alone master it. Um, I think probably out of all of them, tempera is probably the trickiest that I've tried. And you get some beautiful colors with tempera, but if you don't use it properly, it's not going to look good. It's going to look like a mess. But so yeah, if we were to put tempera aside, I think oil is the one that gets you the most vibrant, most beautiful quality of colors that you can get. But if you use a real good brand like Liquitex and you use a professional acrylic brand, you will get something that's close to oil without all the things about oil that some people might hate, like the long drying time, because acrylics dry fast. So yeah, until I found Liquitex, I wasn't a big fan of acrylics, but then they kind of went up on my list after that. But if I was to pick my favorite mediums, and I wasn't including colored pencils, because I would say, colored pencils are probably my favorite medium because it's the one that I'm the most proficient at. If I was to pick in terms of paint, I would say um, oils first and then gouache, or maybe oils and gouache they might be actually quite leveled for me. I love gouache and oil. I think what I love about these mediums is with oil you get the really beautiful, vibrant colors that you rarely get with any other medium. I'm not saying you can't get vibrant colors with other mediums, sorry. I meant to say that with oil, it's just there's an extra pop of vibrancy, an extra pop of color. There's just oil colors are just beautiful in general. But with gouache, you get this lovely matte finish that I really like. And then after that, I would say maybe water mixable oils. I like water mixable oils because it's a much easier medium to use than oils because you can mix it with water. You can use water to dilute it, which is great. But you won't get as much, the vibrancy is going to be somewhat lost because obviously the water is conflicting with the oil. And as we all know, water and oil don't mix. But somehow, someone somewhere in the laboratory managed to achieve the impossible and create water mixable oils. I've used them. It's very handy if you want to get started with oils, especially, and you don't want to spend all the money and all the things you need before you can get started with oils. This is water mixable oils is a really nice entry into the world of oils. And then after that, I would say watercolor and acrylic. If we were just talking about paints, I probably missed some sort of paint along the way. Um, I'm sure there are other paints I can't think of, other types of paints. I love watercolor because you can create such pretty washes. That's WASHES, in case I didn't say that properly. Washes with it, and it just creates such beautiful effects. And again, it can be a tricky medium, but it's very immediate. As I said before, you only need water and practice. Then once you get used to it, you can play around. And I have to change that tentacle. Okay, let's just mix the colors for the bear. It's a really nice shade of brown. Yeah, this may be gouache rather than watercolor because it does, now that I've played with it a little bit more, it does feel quite opaque, quite matte, and gouache dries matte. as opposed to watercolor, which dries translucently. So, okay, so in terms of browns, I have this kind of greenish brown, and I have this orangey brown, like an ochre, yellow ochre. There's a yellowy brown, really. And I have this like burnt sienna. I think that's what it is. None of them come close to the kind of brown I need for that bear. Oh, it's like a purplish tinge to the brown. It's a very beautiful color, but I need a brown. Racking my brain now, guys. How do you make a brown? There's an orange that you use. Something with orange. Or is it red, blue, and yellow? Maybe red, blue, and yellow? Is it using all the primary colors? I am just going to get some water, guys, and I'll be right back. Just give me 1 minute. What are you doing on top of the nest? Go in the nest. Hey guys, I'm back. I was just talking to my bird there because I put a towel over the cage to help them go to sleep. But the male zebra finch is inside the nest, but my female is sitting on top of the nest. Ooh, there she goes chirping. And I'm a bit worried about her because I want her to get some sleep. It's probably because I'm talking. They're probably just listening to my voice and relaxing. It's possible that she was asleep on top of the nest. But yeah, as long as she's all right, I guess. A bit worried about her. She's a bit puffy. I think I'm going to turn off the heat for a little bit. I read online that, oops, sorry about that, that maybe it's possible that she's a bit puffy because she's pregnant and she's cold. Sometimes birds get a bit puffy if they're cold. And zebra finches are supposed to hail from Australia, so they're birds that I use to hot weather. But I also don't want to exaggerate with the heat because I don't want anything bad to happen to them. Trying to stop these birds from, you know. At least they're chirping, so that's a good sign. Right, let's mix this brown. Okay. I'm not going to use the brush that I'm using to paint with. I'll use this brush. Okay, let me try the 3 primary colors. Okay, and now the blue. That's nice. Okay, that's purple. And now the yellow. That's a purple. It is close to the color of the bear, to be honest, but I need it to be a little bit more brown. So I'm going to try adding a little bit more blue. Hmm. Okay, maybe a little bit more yellow. Okay, yeah, I think I've got the color of the bear. He's got a pink belly, but the outside frame is brown. Oh, good. Those are such big ears. Mm. My gosh, my bear is a mess. Maybe I can fix it. My bear is much bigger than it's supposed to be. It's in the wrong place as well. I'll make it work. I'm just going to do this. I'll fix the baby bottle. I think you can see the chalk a little bit more in the painting now. When you dilute it with water, when you dilute this paints with water, it's not so obvious. But when you use it like a gouache, it becomes a little bit chalky. Okay, doesn't look so bad. Though the eyes are a little bit all over the place. Now that I've done that, its eyes looks more like a raccoon. Like a raccoon bear. It does layer well, the paint, though. I think it's because it is quite opaque, quite chalky. You know, with watercolors, you have to kind of let it dry if you want to paint a layer on top. But with these ones, because they're quite opaque, you don't have to wait for it to dry. And they do dry quite quickly as well, so that's a good thing. Taking a sip of water. Okay. Gonna add the pink belly now and the pink mouth, snout. I don't know. Don't know what it's called. I was trying to mix the colors with the other brush so I wouldn't ruin this one. But then the color goes on the other brush. And I feel like I have to use the brush, otherwise it's a waste of color. So I just thought, never mind, I'll just use this brush. Hmm. Yeah, they dry quite chalky actually. It's not a nice after effect. I'm sorry I'm not talking as much. Trying to work out mixing colors is much harder than it appears. If you guys are still awake out there, please give me a shout out in the comments. Just want to make sure that people haven't gone to sleep. I wouldn't blame you if you did. It's fine. Thank you, David. I'm glad you think so. So David said it's looking good. So I'm glad to hear that it is. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, just give me a shout out in the comments if you guys want me to draw anything. If you have a suggestion, let me know. I'll try and draw it for you. Or if you have an art supply that you want me to review, please let me know and I'll review it for you as well. Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit. Actually, I think I'll start applying some shadows to her face and to her nose. Then I'm gonna let it dry and just go over it with some pencil. Just add some pencil lines, just to guide me a little bit. I need to fix the baby bottle and the two tentacles, and I will. I'm just waiting for it to dry. What do I do now? Oh yeah, yellow, right? Okay. Just wiping the color on the paper. Oop. Oh, I think that was too much black. Maybe I shouldn't have added black. Maybe I should have added some sort of orange. That's a green. I think I need to clean my colors now because I'm not getting the colors I want. At least I'm getting really lovely green. Might as well create the highlights on her legs. Ooh. Oh, that's blacker than I thought. So yeah, I can't create the highlights. I'm gonna have to create the shadow. I'm struggling to see a little bit because the light is shining right underneath. What am I doing? Right on top of my picture actually, and so because with my first video, I did it during the day, so I could see it better. But because the light is shining directly down, it's just makes things shine. It's harder for me to see what's going on. See, this is one of the things I do. I put the base color first, and then I add shadows or highlights. Hmm. So quiet outside. You know, I live right next to the hospital here in London. Like literally, I have two windows, right? Um, this window here and that window over there. And the window over there is directly facing the hospital, and this one is directly facing the cemetery or graveyard, depending where you're from. And you would think the hospital would be more busy, there'd be more ambulances coming through. I've seen a few ambulances, but they're not as common as people think. Occasionally we see ambulances, but it doesn't happen that often. Not as often as you would think with COVID-19. And we've had one funeral. The other day there was a funeral, but that was it, really. So I guess why the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm surprised because at this time of night, usually it's a little bit noisy, especially because the buses all stop right in front of my house as well. Because like it's the hospital is the last stop on the line, and so usually the bus stop outside is where they all like stop for ages before they move on again. So you'd think it'd be a bit more noisy, but no, it's not that noisy. I'm surprised. Mm. Oh, did I mix it with a green by accident? No. Is it? Is it that? No, that's too dark. It's too dark. It's too green. Ah, so annoying. And it's kind of like fused up the entire palette. Let me try on this one, which there's still some space left there. I might have to clean this palette at some point before I continue. Maybe. Okay. I'd be able to use that color. Ooh. Sometimes if you think there's too much color, feel free to use like the tissue to kind of wipe it off to give it a more translucent effect. Now I'm just going to that may have been a bit too much, but She looks so weird now. It looks like she has these weird things like coming out of her face. Oh God. Maybe just add like these are supposed to be darker than her face. It's not quite coming out the way I wanted it. I wonder why this black is turning. Every time I add it to some sort of yellow, it becomes very greenish, which makes me think that it's just like there's a green tinge to it. So weird. Oh, that was an accident. Okay. Making her hair shorter here. I think I messed up the face a little bit because it's supposed to come out here. Like this. That's why the hair looks so weird. Yes, on this side is not so bad. This side, there is a bit of a curvature there, but here. Then we have the ears. I'll fix the ears in a second. Making the hair too big now. She kind of looks like a weird vampire. Those are the ears. Just trying to give her some ears. I think I need to let it dry now. One ear appears to be like taller than the other. Okay, it's not so bad. She looks so weird. She doesn't look like, the eyes are too big, so she doesn't look like the toy in the picture. I think I need to give her a little bit more of a chin. Okay, I'm going to let her dry, and then at some point I'm going to go over it with pencil just to put some lines in there, try to create some shadows and stuff. But I quite like it. It's really cute, even though it's not completely accurate. It is cute. It's like my own version of this toy. I'm just going to do one thing. I'm just going to make the red on the cube and the rattle a little bit more orange because it's a little bit more orange in real life. So here I am adding a little bit of vermilion. That's weird. That's my computer talking to me. It's possible that it's low on battery. Okay. The thing about brushes is that brushes are really expensive. So I usually buy them in packets, like student grade ones and stuff, because they're so expensive. But I know the really good ones are like £7 per brush, and I think they're definitely worth investing into if you can afford it. These are not so bad. I think it's just need to tighten my control with them. Okay. Yeah, it's not completely dried yet. That's why it's creating that. Maybe I can wipe it with my tissue. Okay, that was a bit silly, wasn't it? It's because it's still wet. It's still creating that like effect. Okay, I'm gonna let it dry. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna come back to it when it's dry. I will add the pencil details to it, and then I will finish the shading and the highlights. Might do it with pencil instead of paint. It's 1 in the morning, London time, Greenwich time. Drawing that dummy, which at the moment is just a circle of red, was oddly satisfying. Circles are hard to get right because they have no edges. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there for today. I was hoping to only do 2 parts of this video, but it turns out that painting takes a really long time, especially for me. Some people, I'm sure they would have done this by now because it's just a cartoon, but I do like getting it right. So I'm just going to keep playing with it. I'll do part 3, hopefully tomorrow. I can't guarantee that it will be tomorrow because I may have to take my little birdies to the vet, and I am working during the day. So I don't want to promise anything, but I'll try to do part 3 tomorrow. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Either way, if you've enjoyed this video, please do subscribe, give it a like, leave it a comment. And if you are subscribed already or you are subscribing at this moment in time, do make sure you turn on your notifications so that when I post a video online, you receive a notification straight away saying that it's going live, so you never miss one of my videos if you like my content and you enjoy my smooth voice. Anyway, yes, this has actually been a lot of fun, this painting. I may be a little bit slower today as well because I'm quite tired, so I do apologize for that. But I did want to get on with part two because yesterday I did promise that I was going to do it in the evening, and then I didn't because of what happened with my birds. And I think you can hear it in my voice that I am a little bit tired, which also makes it hard to focus on details and stuff. It's possible that I'll be better at mixing my colors again once I've had a bit more sleep. But I have to say, this was very therapeutic. It did manage to get my mind off my birds for a while, and it did help me relax for a bit. And I really do like the way Maggie is coming out, even though she doesn't look exactly like the reference picture. I think she looks really cute. I really like this drawing. I think it's really cute. My current thoughts on the paint would be that it's possible that this is leaning more towards gouache than watercolor. I previously thought it was more of a watercolor set because I was able to get these translucent swatches. But I think that's because I diluted them fairly, with water, with quite a substantial amount of water, and that's why. But again, as you can see in the purple one, that looks pretty opaque. I think the reason why they call it opaque paint box and not gouache or watercolor is because it's probably neither. It's probably just the fact that they added a lot of chalk to the paint, so they come across as quite opaque because of the chalk. But either way, yes, I would say that now that I've used them a bit more, they're more leaning towards the gouache side of things than the watercolor. But again, as with gouache, if you dilute it with enough water, you do get watercolor effects like washes and more translucent, versions of the color. Whereas if you layer it more, if you use more layers or you use it with less water, it does come across as more opaque, like it would with gouache. Gouache, I may be saying it wrong. Sometimes it looks quite matte, like with the eyes, it looks quite matte, but not always. So yeah, it's probably it's hard to tell with cheap mediums because sometimes they're so cheap they become their own medium, if you will, because of the ingredients being used, to create the formula for the paint. So I wouldn't. Yeah, it's hard to judge. They are opaque watercolors, which would make them technically gouache, but I don't think they're truly either one or the other. I think it's its own water-based medium that sits somewhere in between, perhaps. Um, but I think they're a good beginner set. I think if you're just starting out, you can't go wrong with these. They are quite vibrant. I think the colors are quite pretty. I was able to mix quite a few colors without it going muddy, which is good. I mean, I was able to get this brown, which, granted, I mean, it hasn't dried as well as I'd hoped. It does look a bit chalky, and like this leg looks more bare of color, of pigment, than that one does. So yeah, it's just the way these watercolors dry because they're cheap. But I wouldn't say that the color of the bear looks muddy. I would say it just looks a little bit chalky. So it's good to know that you can mix a substantial amount of color without it going muddy. That's good to know. So that's important because with beginners art sets, you don't want to give someone like something that's really bad quality to a beginner, because they might start using it, and if it doesn't go really well, or if the art supply is not very good and things go wrong, they might think it's their fault and they're the ones who are not very good artists, rather than thinking, oh, this is a crappy art set, I better get a different one. That happened to me before when I was first getting into art again years and years ago. And I was using cheap paper and these really terrible pencils, which were really sharp. And so what happened was I was drawing on the paper, which was really flimsy and thin, with these really sharp oil-based pencils, which were really like cheap children's pencils. And holes kept appearing on my page. And I couldn't work out why. And I kept blaming myself, thinking, God, I'm so bad at this. Because I was watching these people on YouTube and they never got holes on their pictures. Of course, that's because they were using really good, pencils like Prismacolor or Faber-Castell, and really good paper like this one, which is quite thick, rather than the crappy art supplies that I was using. But it did put me off of doing art for a long time because I thought I was a bad artist. It didn't occur to me that it was the art supplies that weren't up to scratch. So even with a beginner, even with a child, you want to give them good art supplies because you might put them off of doing art if the art supplies that you give them are not good enough quality, which is why I think it's important to review cheap art supplies like this Pelikan one, because this is obviously like the marketing is geared to kids. So I would say, this is a good beginner set if you have a child who's interested in art and they want to try watercolor. I don't think you can go wrong with this set. It layers really well, I would say. It dries quite quick, or at least it does on this Fabriano paper. It mixes really well without the colors getting muddy, which is always a good sign. It doesn't dry very prettily. I might have to do a few more layers, but I layered on the legs here, and you can see that the quality is not great. It does dry very chalky. That is the one negative. But I think, if you're a child and you're just starting to learn and you're just starting to do art, you might not even notice that. In every other way, I think this is a set that I would recommend if you're starting out. I did say in my previous video that if you're an artist, you can use it, because if you're a professional and you're talented, you can literally use anything, and I'm sure it would come out looking great. But you might not like the finish because of the way it draws, the chalky manner in which it not draws, dries. Sorry, I'm tired. Apologies. Yeah, the chalky manner in which it dries. You might not like the finish of that. So I might, I think I'm going to retract that and say I don't recommend this set to professionals, even though I'm sure you could create something great with it, because I think the finish is just not good enough. It's not good enough quality for a professional piece. But in every other way, I think it behaves well enough considering the price. Again, I'm not sure what the price was, but I don't think it was more than £10. I do believe he said something like €7 or something. So that makes sense. If you're beginning or you just want to like sketch on your sketchbook and you don't want to use your expensive paints, you might want to consider these ones. That's fine. But I would say overall, at this moment in time, I'm sticking with it's a good set for beginners. Somewhere in between gouache type of paint and then a watercolor type of paint. Mixes well without getting too muddy. I think it layers well. The colors are pretty. It's just that you will have a chalky finish. I suppose that looks a little bit muddy. It will become muddy with cheap art sets, but I don't think it's that bad. I've seen worse. So I think as far as cheap art sets go, this so far is a good one. The brush, I will try using more of their brush next time. Kind of gave up halfway through doing the color chart because the bristles started coming off, which I wasn't very happy with. But it was quite soft, and it was really nice to use. It just, I didn't feel like you had a lot of control with it. I don't think you can draw details with it, but I will try next time. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this video. There's going to be a part 3 to my Maggie Simpson alien masterpiece. Okay. And if you enjoyed it, once again, please subscribe, give it a like, give it a comment, and, just tell me if you want me to review a particular art supply, if you have a particular image you want me to draw, just throw a challenge at me. It will make things more interesting. I do have actually more expensive art supplies. I'm a bit of a hoarder when it comes to art supplies. So I do have like Caran d'Ache and Faber-Castell and all those things. If you want me to try something a little bit more high quality, That's fine. Um, I'm going to try and review all of the art supplies I have acquired in the last 3 years, which is probably going to take months, if not years. But I will try. That's my motto. I'm trying. Okay. So yeah, just tell me if there's anything that you have in mind that you'd like me to do, any art supply that you'd like me to review. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for your support. You guys are amazing. Thank you for watching my videos. You have no idea how happy you make me when I go on the video after it's finished and I see that people have been watching and they've been liking it and they've been leaving comments. It's just so good to know there's people out there who are enjoying my content. Thank you so much for your support, guys. You guys rock. Have a lovely night or day, depending on where you are on the planet. Earth, that's the one I mean. Never mind. And yeah, enjoy yourselves. Thank you for watching. Again, please subscribe if you like my content, like, and leave a comment. Thank you. Bye.